Raw speed is only one measurement of performance in a mobile network. User experience also plays a critical role in whether a network is considered robust, and managing all of that information so that it performs under real-world conditions is a substantial challenge. Crossbeam, a leading platform for high-performance network security solutions, is focused on enabling a seamless user experience to millions of mobile data subscribers. Network testing is often about raw data throughput, but you're doing something quite a bit different here. Could you explain a little bit about that?
We decided to get away from the status quo of measuring these different data sheet metrics. So if you look at any data sheet, you've got throughput, and then you've got connections per second, and you've got latency, and all these different numbers. And they're all mutually exclusive of each other, right? No matter what product you have, us included, you're never going to get all of those data points simultaneously. So what's really important is, because every network has throughput, and it also has connections, and it also has latency requirements, is how's it going to work when you have all of these things interacting? So that's what we're doing here. We're simulating actual users that are actually doing, pulling pages down to a device, and they're doing it pretty aggressively. So if you were to pull up your phone, pull up a web page, check the news, 3 different tabs, and then put your phone away, that's what we're testing. So what this enables our customers to do is, rather than try to back into how many subscribers, look at these different metrics and go, well, I think if I have got this many connections per second and this throughput, I should be able to get this many subscribers. We're measuring the number of subscribers directly.
Why is this specific involved testing important in today's climate?
Well, it really comes down to the huge surge in mobile computing. It used to be you'd sit in your corporate office and you'd be protected by firewalls and IPS, and you didn't see a lot of mobile data. You picked up your phone to communicate. Now it's all data, and we're just seeing the data usage go through the roof. And what's driving that is mobile business. So instead of being in the safe castle inside a corporate office, they're taking their work with them out on the road. You've got airports and in the car and at home. And this is a huge amount of data, and it's a huge task to secure it, at least give it even close to the amount of security that you would have back in the corporate office. So the testing we're doing here is to see how well we can apply corporate level security to mobile users.
The testing you're doing here today is focused specifically on the mobile space, but is the testing methodology applicable to other areas of business?
Absolutely. Every organization has some sort of business metric that they're using technology to satisfy. For example, we've got other customers that may measure their business in the number of branches that they have, or the number of TV sets. Whatever it is, rather than measuring throughput and connections per second and all these technical terms, find out how those technical terms relate to some sort of business metric, and then test against that business metric. And that's what we're saying here.
Crossbeam has redefined how mobile data network performance should be measured, treating bandwidth as one metric in a constellation of metrics. Now mobile operators worldwide can align their network decisions to include the total end user experience.
Mobile operators have a very good framework for security. It's evolved through multiple generations of technology already, and it's proven to have value both to them to protect their networks, but also to users, who it kind of contributes to the value a user takes away. And we know that as things evolve to data and to LTE, operators want to maintain the position, continue to accrue that value as providers of secure communication services. Last year, the Light Reading ran a security benchmark survey. We found something of the order of 82% of operators said they were going to increase their CapEx allocation to security in 2011 and 2012. So I think right there you have a pretty strong result, and you can very clear that it's a priority still. The SGI interface provides connectivity to external networks and therefore services. It's a complex environment, and one that's growing in importance as user expectations for performance increase, as operator business models evolve, and as the services themselves become more sophisticated. It's also where you would, for example, locate traffic management and optimization devices, so DPI, video optimization. And then lastly, because it provides connectivity to the internet, it's where operators need security, and especially firewall devices. Firewall deployed in a mobile network is different to, say, fixed line or enterprise, and it needs to deal with a very high number of connections, rapid setup and tear down of connections, and so it's very transactional. So one of the big requirements on the SGI is for performance and really to reduce latency. There are all kind of applications and boxes people are wanting to put there, but each one induces a little bit of delay, so you really want high performance, low latency boxes, and I think that's a crucial factor.
Well, Crossbeam actually aimed for some pretty large-scale testing of more than 107 gigabits per second. And the challenge we had was we couldn't easily find an LTE packet gateway that would match the scalability. So since Crossbeam kind of exceeded what's available in the market today, we had really to look for a large-scale emulation, which we found with Spirent's Avalanche system. The primary goal for the test was, of course, to check the performance and scalability of the solution. Now the question is, how did we come up with the goal of 107 gigabits per second? Actually, Crossbeam had never tested this before in their labs because it really required a very large-scale setup. So the goals were based on calculations that Crossbeam made, and they said, well, we should reach something north of 100 gigabits with this equipment scaled at the full deployment. And actually, they were doing pretty well with their calculations. So in the lab, we could prove 107 gigabits per second throughput.
The basic finding from the EANTC test of the Crossbeam X80S hardware platform running Checkpoint firewall software was that it can run about 107 gigabits per second of throughput. That's with 1 million active users, 4 million TCP connections, and cycling through 250,000 new TCP connections per second. This was shown across multiple test runs and didn't really vary much when NAT and IPS functions were switched on the box. So that's pretty good performance, very good. It's certainly a lot more than you would get in a typical deployment in any mobile broadband network today. And so it should be good for requirements operators have as they move to LTE over the next few years. What this really means, it's not just throughput you're looking at the overall performance control plane and user plane on the box. What I was impressed with the EANTC test is that they were able to test against a kind of a bespoke stateful traffic model and against a very high number of users, TCP connections and so forth. So that's really what separates this test from the norm, if you like.
I would say the performance and scalability values that we found easily match and exceed the market needs today. The Crossbeam X80 performed very well under this heavy traffic. Typically, one might see things like increased latency or packet loss starting, but we didn't see any of that. So the system was well under control. We monitored the CPU load as well, and it remained within the constraints that you would expect at this load. So the Crossbeam X80 mastered this traffic very well.